On this week's edition of the Coach's Corner podcast, we go live on Periscope, iHeartRadio, and iTunes in a great episode where we're going to talk about the beginning of the NFL opener this week. We're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys without Tony Romo, who's going to be out 6 to 10 weeks. Will Dak Prescott be the guy, or will it be Mark Sanchez, who was just recently signed by them? Panthers Broncos kick off tomorrow on the NFL kickoff. Thursday night football on NBC, a Super Bowl 50 rematch between Cam Newton and Von Miller, Denver versus Carolina. Also, we're going to analyze that game and that matchup and some storylines. We're going to look at Sam Bradford being traded to the Minnesota Vikings in the wake of Teddy Bridgewater's freak accident and injury that has him sidelined for the rest of the season and potentially into next year as well. So that means Carson Wentz will get the start at quarterback in Philadelphia. We're going to talk about that and how his backup, Chase Daniel, is unhappy about the recent move that Philadelphia has made. And we're going to talk about all the NFL teams, which teams are good, which teams are bad. We're going to analyze all that on this week's edition of the Coach's Corner podcast.
This is the Coach's Corner podcast, brought to you by CodyOrk18.com.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Coach's Corner podcast. Here today, we're going to talk about the NFL. Season opener is getting ready to kick off tomorrow against the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers in Denver in a Super Bowl 50 rematch between the Carolina Panthers and Denver. Von Miller versus Cam Newton. We get to see it once again. This is the first time that actually Cam Newton has traveled to the Mile High City to play the Denver Broncos. Each time that the Denver Broncos and the Panthers have met since 2011, you've had Von Miller and the Broncos going up to Carolina the one year and beating them 35-14, and then you had them traveling to San Francisco to beat them in the Super Bowl. This is the first game in a long time where Carolina travels to Denver, so it's going to be a different element. Obviously, a lot has changed since Super Bowl 50, okay? And when we look at the Carolina Panthers on offense and defense, not much has changed. They've lost a couple of guys, okay? But the thing is they've still got that great defense, minus Josh Norman, minus some very lackluster defensive backs. And we'll talk about San Diego later. Hold on one second. Let me get to where I'm talking. We're live on Periscope. We're live on iHeartRadio. And we're live on iTunes right now and Twitter. Be sure to tune in right now. We're live. So I will read your stuff on air. But let me get to my point real quick, okay? Carolina Panthers. Not much has changed with them, okay? They lost Josh Norman. Okay. They get Kelvin Benjamin back on offense. All right, that'll be interesting because the one thing I've been hearing all offseason is that the Denver Broncos didn't face Kelvin Benjamin, okay? And Kelvin Benjamin is a great wide receiver. He stood out a lot on Carolina the last couple of years because he was the only guy that could make catches for Cam Newton, the guy that would actually catch the dang ball for once. And when we look back to when they played the Seattle Seahawks in the divisional round a couple years ago, Kelvin Benjamin was the only guy that Cam Newton threw to, okay? And when you lock into one guy, you're not going to be very productive. That's why Carolina wasn't that good. So this year, when Kelvin Benjamin had to miss with a torn ACL, torn it during training camp last year, what happened was, and we saw it, Cam Newton had to distribute the ball a little bit to everybody. He had to throw it to Ted Ginn Jr., Devin Funchess, and Hamilton Porter here on Periscope tells me that Broncos corners would still have him on lock, and I absolutely agree. You know, Kelvin Benjamin's a phenomenal receiver, but I'm telling you, this Denver defense has faced the best receivers. They've faced the best tight ends. They faced Rob Gronkowski, okay? They faced Julian Edelman. They bracket covered Julian Edelman and Rob Gronkowski. They never played really any zone coverage. They manned up on him. Denver's got a good game plan. Wade Phillips as a defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos has been a great move for Denver because Wade Phillips, what he did, what Jack Del Rio failed to do when Jack Del Rio was defensive coordinator for the Broncos, he utilized the talent that he had. He played to the strengths of his players, and that's exactly what he did. You got Von Miller now rushing the quarterback and occasionally dropping into a zone for coverage. When you had Jack Del Rio, you had Von Miller covering a slot receiver or a tight end one-on-one. Okay, and it didn't work out too well. You didn't play to the strengths because you'd only rush 3 guys under Jack Del Rio's system, and then you'd expect that your cover corners can cover for at least 10 seconds when there wasn't a visible pass rush. And that's why Denver got pounded by the Colts a couple of years back. That's why Denver got pounded against the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Okay, Wade Phillips brought a defensive system that plays to the strength of his players, and we saw it in Super Bowl 50. He rushed the quarterback. Von Miller got the Cam Newton. The receivers were blanketed. They were covered by Chris Harris Jr., Aqib Talib, Bradley Roby, Darian Stewart, TJ Ward, a healthy Denver defense. And the result spoke for itself. They dominated the entire game of Super Bowl 50, okay? So that's one thing that's got me going here, okay? It's only Wednesday. I'm jacked up. Tomorrow's kickoff. We finally got the NFL regular season back a few weeks ago, okay? It's been a while since I've been on the show, okay? I've been coaching high school ball. I've been preparing for the season. Wade Phillips is a genius. I absolutely agree. Wade Phillips is one of the biggest geniuses out there defensive-minded. He may not have been a great head coach for the Texans, but I think he's a great defensive coordinator because he knows how to work with a group of guys on defense rather than having to micromanage offense, defense, and special. Okay? So, on today's show, I kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but on today's show, we're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, okay? Currently, with the Dallas Cowboys, I laugh every time because some of my high school players are Cowboys fans. I deal with a lot of Cowboys fans on Twitter across the social media spectrum, okay? And I tell you what, they're the most delusional people on this earth. Cowboys fans are. They're so delusional, and I'll get to that in a second. Okay, we're going to talk about the Cowboys without Tony Romo. Cowboys just signed Mark Sanchez to a contract after he was released by the Denver Broncos. Jerry Jones is a mastermind, apparently. Tony Romo's out 6 to 10 weeks with a broken collarbone. Okay, a broken collarbone. 6 to 10 weeks. Dak Prescott, a quarterback who's jumped in for a little bit in preseason and has shined. He's played pretty spectacular in the preseason, throwing to Dez Bryant. They have something potentially right there, okay? And I'm a firm believer if Dak Prescott plays the way he did in preseason throughout the entire regular season while Tony Romo is out, I really don't see how Jones should, or Jason Garrett, for example, should go with Tony Romo, okay? And this is the title of this week's podcast, okay? Tony Romo is to health what Lindsay Lohan is to prove that fame is healthy for a person, okay? It's just not. Tony Romo is awful, okay? And you know what? Everyone wants to refer to his passer rating or his late game heroics, okay? But when we look at it, Tony Romo's late game heroics usually ends in a pick. He's a hero for the other team. Okay, I don't know how many primetime games I've watched where the Cowboys literally throw a pick within the last 2 minutes of the game or in the fourth quarter when they're down, they're trailing. The only guy that I think's really ever saved them was their kicker. And there have been times where the kickers missed a field goal too. Okay, but I'm trying to say this. Dallas Cowboys have been irrelevant since 1996, okay? The Dallas Cowboys have not been America's team for that long, all right? Maybe back in the day when they had Michael Irvin, all those guys, okay, when they won back-to-back Super Bowls. But listen to this. What have the Cowboys done in the 2000s? Okay, yeah, they made the playoffs the 1 year with Tony Romo. I remember the dramatic Tony Romo being the holder for the field goal that would have won them the game. He fumbled the snap on the field goal hold, and they lost the game to Seattle. I remember that clear as day. I don't know if many of you guys do, but that was the only time that I can really think where the Cowboys have been relevant, where they were good and they were competing, okay? Now, when I look at the Cowboys in recent history, recent years, okay, and I say this with a fiery passion because Cowboys fans drive me insane, okay? And the thing, and I'm going to tell you this, is that they made the playoffs a couple years, right? They lose in the first round. They win the division by default a couple of years, okay? But they don't do it. And Dez Bryant has the drop, okay? Everyone said Dez caught it. Dez didn't catch it, okay? Look up what a damn NFL catch is. Even though I don't even know anymore what a damn catch is in the NFL, that's what I'm talking about, though, okay? So when we look at all those aspects and those elements that play a big picture in what we're talking about, okay, and this is to all the Cowboys fans listening. This is to my players that I constantly have to get into little debates with every single morning and evening at football practice. The Cowboys are not relevant. They're not that good, and they won't be for a while. They might have a chance with Dak Prescott, but look, they got suspended guys on defense. They got guys with drug problems. You got an owner who doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Jerry Jones is the most delusional guy in all of professional sports. He's like Al Davis 2.0, all right? The Cowboys are not going to be a great organization until Jerry Jones steps down or eventually dies. And I hate to say that. That sounds harsh, but it's the truth, okay? So we're going to talk about the Cowboys. We're going to talk about the NFC least in just a second, all right? But also, in other news, in wake of Sam Bradford's terrible injury that he suffered at practice, not Sam Bradford, Teddy Bridgewater, his injury that he suffered back at practice a week and a half ago, where his knee dislocated and he tore his ACL, had no other structural damage. The thing is with that is that he's going to be out for the rest of the year. Okay, we already know that. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles have traded Sam Bradford to the Minnesota Vikings, where he reunites with Adrian Peterson and connects with a young receiving core in Stephon Diggs, Kyle Rudolph at tight end. The thing is, and a great defense, a great young defense that the Minnesota Vikings have. Okay, so they have a lot of potential there, and I'll get to that in a second. But Sam Bradford to the Vikings. Sam Bradford had a sample size year where he was the guy, and he did pretty good at times in St. Louis, now L.A. Tore his ACL. Okay, struggled. Came back last year, played for the Eagles, got hurt, and now he's in Minnesota. Okay, and the thing that I want to really point out is that the sample size for Sam Bradford is not that big. Kind of like what it is with Brock Osweiler, for example. Okay, with Brock Osweiler only played 7 damn games for the Denver Broncos and got a $73 million contract from the Houston Texans. Okay, so they look at kind of what they saw in 7 games compared to what they haven't seen yet. Okay, 7 games is too low of a sample size to know what you're going to get out of a quarterback. So with that, I like to say Bradford to the Vikings, okay? So that leaves Carson Wentz, the Eagles' first-round draft pick, as their starting quarterback. They named it if he's healthy because he suffered a rib injury in the preseason because they don't have an offensive line. They have nobody to freaking block for him. He got hurt, I think, on the 3rd play of the dang game. So when that happens, okay, now you got to look at guys like Chase Daniel, who used to be a backup quarterback at the Kansas City Chiefs under Doug Peterson. He's pissed off because he's not starting. After they traded Bradford away, they made the announcement that it was going to be Carson Wentz who was going to start, okay, and not Chase Daniel, an NFL veteran. And so when we look at all these aspects, okay, we got to factor in from a player's standpoint. I've been putting in all this damn work all offseason. I come over with Coach Peterson in the offseason. I get a lot of reps when Bradford holds out and he throws his fit over not getting his money. Then we draft a quarterback. Sam Bradford acts like he's going to quit the team or not show up because they drafted a quarterback in the 1st round. They had the 1st pick, and they drafted him. Then Chase Daniel, who's been working during the preseason. Carson Wentz has been hurt. Okay, he's been hurt. What have we seen from Carson Wentz yet outside of his college career? Last year in college he was hurt for a certain amount of games. They come here, so now the Philadelphia Eagles has a brand new identity. They're reestablished. They've got a lot of different pieces there, okay? They re-signed defense. They re-signed Fletcher Cox on their defense, okay? But guess what? They got 10 other guys on that defense outside of their safety, Terrence Mitchell, who still has a lot of improving to do. They don't have a complete team yet, and I think they're going to be the bottom team in the NFC East, and I think you're going to have the Redskins, who are going to be a little more improved this year. Kirk Cousins will be solid if he stays healthy. They got Jordan Reed. If he can stay healthy, they have a threat there. And they got some guys on defense. Obviously, losing Junior Gillette is going to hurt the Redskins in a way. But I think the division comes down between, sadly enough, and I don't like to say this, I think it's going to be between Dallas and New York. And I like to say that New York's going to get that division because really, I mean, this is just right now. Okay, games still have to be played. I understand that. But New York wins this division because they get Victor Cruz back. They got a young rookie in Sterling Shepard who's going to draw mismatches away from guys. And also you still have Odell Beckham Jr., who I still think is not the best wide receiver in the league. I think he's overrated still. But you go from having guys you're going to have guys double team and try to bracket coverage Odell Beckham Jr., okay, because he always has some kind of spectacular catch in one game or another, okay? When you bracket and you double cover Odell Beckham Jr., what you leave open to, okay? So now you got guys like Victor Cruz, who's returning, hasn't played in the NFL in a couple years due to a severe injury. He's back. You got a guy like Sterling Shepard you drafted, he's going to come out and play a major role, okay? So now Eli Manning's got guys he can throw the ball to in Ben McAdoo's system, which I think plays great. I think that's great for Eli Manning because in Ben McAdoo's system, so far what we've seen the best Eli Manning in Ben McAdoo's system than we've seen since Eli took the Giants to the Super Bowl, okay? And so that's my firm opinion on that. He's got pieces there, okay? I think defensively, I think the Giants still have a lot of improvement to do, but I think they're going to be better off defensively right now than the Cowboys are. Cowboys are missing guys. Obviously, their draft pick, Randy Gregory, his suspension, he appealed it, but he'd still be facing a further and a longer suspension due to a potential substance violation for performance-enhancing drugs. Okay, and I'm trying to rack my head on why. Every time I turn on the news or I turn on ESPN or I check my phone, I get a SportsCenter update talking about the damn Cowboys. What's next? And then you got Ezekiel Elliott. He just got cleared in his domestic violence suit. Okay, he's still kind of questionable. Everyone's kind of questioning why he was at a marijuana dispensary shop in Seattle during their preseason game. Questionable thing right there. Okay, a lot of this stuff, I just don't know. I look at Jerry Jones, and I think Jerry Jones enables these athletes on his team because you know what? He set a precedent when he signed Greg Hardy last year. He set a precedent saying, you know what? Guys may have some baggage, but we're going to take him. Look at what happened with Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy came out. They signed him last year. They signed Greg Hardy. Okay, he was suspended a couple games. He came out and he played, and then he was the guy throwing a damn tantrum, hitting a clipboard out of a coach's hand after a special teams kick return for a touchdown that they gave up. He had a clipboard out of a coach's hand, getting into arguments with his own players. Okay, and then the photos come out of what he did to his girlfriend. Or his ex-girlfriend at the time, the physical abuse. She released the photos, the bruises, the marks, and the beatings that she suffered at the hands of this man, and they still had the audacity to let him play. They didn't suspend him, okay? They didn't suspend him at all, and those photos were horrifying, okay? I don't have to remind you guys. If you saw it, you were kind of – it really upset you. Well, I mean, maybe. I mean, it really upset me because that's a frustrating thing. I mean, I saw that – and I was like, why is this guy playing, okay? So we get a guy like that who still gets to play and make money in the NFL, acts the way he does, carries off. In the offseason, did this whole thing with Adam Schefter, which was an absolute disaster about what he did. And he wasn't sorry about what he did, and that's what I was really blown away by when he did that special report, kind of special interview with Adam Schefter. It didn't help his chances, so he didn't get signed back with the Cowboys. Obviously, he's a free agent right now, but my point is Jerry Jones is so delusional that he'll let a guy like that stay on his team. Okay, and you got a bunch of guys on your defense that are suspended for various reasons. Tony Romo, your quarterback, he's out 6 to 10 weeks. And in history, when we've looked at it, Tony Romo hasn't won the Dallas Cowboys games a lot. A lot of times it was their offensive line, their running game that would do it. Tony Romo would get the team sometimes into field position to kick a field goal. Sometimes the field goal kicker would miss. Okay, and then sometimes Tony Romo, well, actually not sometimes, most of the time, let's say 8 times out of 10, he would throw a pick in the fourth quarter in a game where they're trailing. Or he'd throw a pick when they're ahead in the fourth quarter to give the Giants or to give whoever they play. It's mainly the Giants or the Eagles or a divisional opponent that they end up playing on a primetime game on a Sunday night or a Monday night or a Thursday night. And we saw that. Okay, we saw that so many times. Okay, so I'm over the Dallas Cowboys. I really am. I'm kind of sick of them. So now let's kind of I'm going to take a break here in just a second. We're going to go to commercial break. I'm going to pause it. And then when I think about it, I just think that the media, especially ESPN, they need to lose their emphasis on the Dallas Cowboys being considered America's team because they're not. If I had to say anybody's America's team, I'd probably say, how do we define America's team? Do we define it by the team that's had the most success in the last 5 years? When I look at that team is either A, the New England Patriots, or B, the Denver Broncos with the win record that they've had ever since they've had Peyton Manning. They've become America's team where the Patriots have, okay? And now you got the Patriots who are going to be without Tom Brady for the first 4 games of the regular season. You got a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo in there starting for the Patriots, okay? And you got off-season additions in Martellus Bennett, and then you've got Rob Gronkowski. Obviously, you got a new addition, a good receiver out of Buffalo in Chris Hogan. You got Julian Edelman. You got Danny Amendola. You were supposed to have Deion Lewis back, but he had a complication in his knee. Ended up having to get surgery once again. And he's out for a little bit. He's out indefinitely for God knows how long. He had to go in and have something fixed, a scope, or he had to have his ACL repaired again. Maybe as a guy who had ACL surgery, maybe his graft for his ACL didn't hold up. And so there's a lot of different factors there. But I'm telling you this. The reign of the Dallas Cowboys being America's team, it's over. It's done. Stick a fork in them. They're out of here. Okay? So when we return from commercial break, we're going to answer some questions live here on Periscope, and then we're going to talk about the tomorrow night's matchup, the NFL kickoff season between the Carolina Panthers and the Denver Broncos. And we're going to analyze that matchup between the Carolina Panthers offense and Denver's defense. We're going to analyze key losses, key additions, things like that. When we return from commercial break here on the Coach's Corner podcast, brought to you by iHeartRadio and CodyRourke18.com.
This is iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio makes you want to move.
When you have a great melody,
A song can last forever.
Instantly connected.
I love it when the beat goes
iHeartRadio is the way I get to you.
the biggest song, the biggest artist.
All in one place.
iHeartRadio.
I'll see you there.
The 4 of us, we never missed a game. Then life, jobs, kids, new cities. It was time we got back together. A few minutes on NFL Ticket Exchange, and we were set. 4 100% authentic, real deal tickets to the Niners. From one fan to another. There's nothing better than this.
Man, oh man, you're my best friend. I scream it too. There's nothing that, there ain't nothing that I need. Oh, let me go home. Home is wherever I'm with you.
There's no place like home. Get your tickets today at NFL.com.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Coach's Corner podcast. So we just ended with a great commercial break. Obviously, go get your NFL tickets. Now that NFL season is officially upon us, go to NFLTicketExchange.com to get your official tickets, licensed tickets from other fans who cannot make the game. Go there. That's the surest and safest way for you to get tickets. You don't have to meet up anywhere. You don't have to exchange it. Go to NFLTicketExchange.com. Link up. Find a ticket you're interested in, and it'll automatically transfer into your name after the transaction is complete. So, with that, the NFL this week, we just got done talking about the Dallas Cowboys' atrocious organization and how it's run. Now we need to talk about a couple issues going on around the NFL that, realistically, when I think about it, have become a huge talking point throughout the national media, social media, and amongst everybody else. And so when we're talking about it, what I'm talking about is Colin Kaepernick's decision to sit down during the national anthem. Guys like Eric Reed, safety for the 49ers, and Seattle Seahawks, Nickelback, Jeremy Lane, decided to join Colin Kaepernick in his protest and what he's calling sitting during the national anthem because he's protesting the oppression that black people face, African Americans face in their communities, police brutality, bringing awareness to things like that. And it's created a lot of outrage. It's created a lot of controversy, and it's kind of been kind of bittersweet for the NFL and for business. But for Colin Kaepernick, it's kind of been a win for him because now Colin Kaepernick's jersey sales have spiked up after his comments and what he's doing. He's taking a stand, and he didn't make things easier after he decided to show up to practice wearing black socks that had a silhouette of a police officer with the face of a pig on it. So realistically, when we look at this, I'm trying to ask Colin Kaepernick, what exactly are you trying to prove? We understand. I understand. The world understands. You know what? There is police brutality out there. There is oppression still. There is inequality. I understand that. Many other people understand that. But I think the way you're going about it is not going to do anything to help counteract that. Like I said, athletes got to do a lot more. And guys like Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, when you watch the ESPYs, they took a stand. They said, we got to stop doing it through social media. We got to do it in productive ways that involve us working with people in the community, working with the people who are affected by these travesties, by these tragedies, by these oppressive behaviors that we are seeing towards African Americans and minorities in the United States of America. I don't disagree with you there, Kaepernick. I agree. We have that going on still to this very day, sadly enough. But I think the way that you're doing it is in a way that obviously it's going to catch attention. I think it's drawing a lot of attention to yourself. You're obviously not the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. You're the backup to Blaine Gabbert in a terrible offense run by Chip Kelly. Okay, right now, and I was listening to the ESPN radio, and everybody's starting to think that maybe the San Francisco 49ers might be the worst team in the NFL right now, player-wise, coach-wise, personnel-wise, organizationally-wise. They're the worst team in the NFL. That's the common consensus. But back to my point, Colin Kaepernick. I'm just trying to understand, why are you sitting during the national anthem? So now, as of right now, there were incidents maybe 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, where there were incidents of police brutality as well, but you still stood for the national anthem and placed your hand over your heart. Okay, and the thing to me is, you know what? You don't disrespect the men and women who have sacrificed their lives fighting and dying for our country to ensure that we're free, to ensure that you have the ability to exercise your right to free speech, which, I mean, you're doing. You know, I can't get mad at you for that. You're doing that. But Colin, what I'm trying to say is, what message are you sending to our kids, to our youth, who stand up and do believe in the Pledge of Allegiance, who do stand up and honor the national anthem? I tell you what, as a high school football coach, okay, and as a former player, nothing was more exhilarating. There was nothing better than right before a game, closing your eyes, putting your hand on your heart, and listening to a national anthem be beautifully sung by whoever, or the band playing the national anthem. There was no greater feeling than that provides you with so much excitement and energy and butterflies within your whole entire body than that moment right there. And so my question is, I understand you're trying to make a point. You're making a very valid point. Okay, you're doing something that has caught the eye of the national media, the sports media, social media, and advocates and protesters. We get that. You're trying to do something there. But the thing that I'm trying to wonder, I don't see your angle, is why do it here? Why do that? Because now you're opening up the possibility where now the San Francisco Police Department wants to boycott working San Francisco 49er games. Ideally, when I look at that, and it's kind of a double-edged sword here, you're exercising your right to free speech, but you're affecting your organization, you're affecting your team, you're affecting your teammates, you're affecting your image. Okay, you're also the police department, and that when they say they're going to boycott the games, that's kind of a failure for them to do their job. So this whole situation has caused mass confusion amongst the media, the social media world, national media, and myself. But a lot of people are not happy about it. There are many players in the NFL who've spoken out saying that they're not happy with what Colin Kaepernick is doing. They say they understand his right to protest, but he's doing it in the wrong way, which I also firmly believe. His former coach, Jim Harbaugh, also said the same exact thing. And now I start to wonder, do you open it up to where you start to piss people off, where people may try to come after you? Someone may try to hit you during the national anthem. I don't know, but that's something I've thought about. If what you were doing truly offended me, and I'm not saying I'm truly offended, I think it's kind of dumb what you're doing, Colin Kaepernick, but I do think you are exercising your right to free speech, and you're trying to send a message, and you have sent a message. I don't necessarily agree with it, but you did it because you have the right to do so. So I'm just lost by this whole thing. I'm eager to see how this whole entire thing plays out in the next couple weeks in the media. We'll be sure to talk about it here on the Coach's Corner podcast. I will talk about it on Twitter, so be sure to follow me on Twitter, at Cody Rourke NFL on Twitter. Go to iHeartRadio.com. Search for the Coach's Corner podcast or type in Cody Rourke. Click it and click add to your favorite channel. And then every episode of the Coach's Corner podcast, both past and present, will be available at the tips of your fingers or on any media and outlet device that you may have that connects to the internet or a Wi-Fi signal. You may have it. Take the Coach's Corner podcast with you on the road everywhere you go. Also, want to thank sponsors DDP Yoga for being the official home workout and rehabilitation physical therapy app and program of the Coach's Corner podcast. DDP Yoga. I was facing a knee surgery once again after having an ACL reconstruction. My knee was stiff again. I had limited range of motion and mobility and was facing another operation after an excruciating journey after having an ACL tear and reconstructive surgery. So I found DDP Yoga. I was given a month and a half deadline to develop some results to be able to bend my knee past 140 degrees and have a decent extension, or else I was going to have to go back under the knife, get my knee manipulated under anesthesia and another surgery to clean out any scar tissue, things like that. I found DDP Yoga through Talk is Jericho, Chris Jericho on Podcast One, his podcast. He mentioned what DDP Yoga did to him and how it helped him recover from a herniated disc and that he thought and doctors told him could prevent him from ever wrestling again or for traveling on tour with his band Fozzy. I decided to give DDP Yoga a try. I went to ddpyoga.com and they just came out with the DDP Yoga Now app, which I also downloaded. I had a subscription. You can do it for free, which gives you limited workouts, or you can do the monthly subscription, which I do, which gives you every single workout, every single program from beginners to intermediate to advanced for DDP Yoga at the hand of your fingertips. Take it wherever you go. You no longer have to carry the DVDs or a DVD player with you wherever you go. You can have it on the access from your phone on the Apple or Android stores. Take DDPY with you wherever you go, whether it's a hotel room, a football field, you're getting ready to travel. I'm on the road a lot. Sometimes I have to be in a hotel room, or I'm traveling out of town, probably about 4.5 hours out of town for a football game. I do some of the stretches at the football field right before our games that I coach, and it helps me stay loose on the trip home, helps me get a decent rest on the way back, and my body feels great overall. So go to ddpyoga.com right now, or DDP Yoga Now, the app, in the app, Android and Apple stores. Download the app, sign up, create a subscription, and start today and change your life. I tell you, it's changed my life in a very, very positive way, and I would give my life, I vouch, I put my life on DDP Yoga. I bet all the marbles on DDP Yoga and what it can do for you. Start your journey today and let me know at Cody Rourke NFL, and then tweet DDP Yoga at RealDDP and at DDP Yoga and tell them how DDP Yoga has helped you. And maybe you'll be the next success story for DDP Yoga. Maybe you'll be the next Arthur Borman. Okay? If you don't know who Arthur Borman is, go to YouTube right now, type in Arthur Borman, DDP Yoga, and see what DDP Yoga has done for many people, including myself. So if you're struggling, you want to lose weight, you want to get healthy, DDP Yoga is my best recommendation for you. It is the official home workout, physical therapy, rehabilitation product and program of the Coach's Corner podcast. So go ahead and check that out. So something that Teddy Bridgewater will be doing probably later on down the road, he should do, and I'll tweet it out to him, is DDP Yoga after he gets to a threshold, maybe about 5 months after a surgery, is a great time to start to begin on breaking up that scar tissue and whatnot. So with that, let's look at the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers matchup, okay? And like I said at the beginning of the show, a lot has changed with this matchup, and mainly it's the new identity of the Denver Broncos offense that they have now with Trevor Siemian as the quarterback for the Denver Broncos, and new offensive line, Russell Okung, for example. You got Donald Stevenson, you picked him up from the Kansas City Chiefs, Russell Okung from the Seattle Seahawks. You let Ryan Clady go. You've got Michael Schofield at guard now rather than tackle, which actually may end up being a better fit. You got Matt Paradise at center, C.J. Anderson at tailback, and then the Denver Broncos released Ronnie Hillman, who was a hero leading rusher last year, and now you're going with Devontae Booker, rookie out of Utah, and Capri Bibbs, 3 to 4 year veteran out of Colorado State on the Denver Broncos, who made the team in a 3-back system, and then you got a fullback, Andy Janovich, out of Wisconsin as well. Virgil Green steps in at the tight end position for the Denver Broncos this year. You've got Emmanuel Sanders Demaryius Thomas, Benny Fowler, Jordan Norwood, and Cody Latimer. However, I've just received news that Benny Fowler will be out for tomorrow's game. He's still recovering from that kind of fractured elbow he suffered in the first preseason game of the year against the Chicago Bears. He's going to be out for this week, questionable for next week, but we got football back. The NFL regular season kicks off tomorrow with the Denver Broncos hosting the Carolina Panthers in Denver, where the banner will be raised, and the rematch for Super Bowl 50 will take place between Von Miller and Cam Newton. Not much has changed for the Panthers. Offensively, they get Kelvin Benjamin back. They still got Jeremy Stewart. They've got Devin Funchess. They've got Ted Ginn Jr., still have Cam Newton, still have Greg Olsen. Got a lot of the same guys on the offensive line, Michael Orr, Mike Remmers, new guy at tackle. However, they got a couple guys that are not back for the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, Josh Norman, cornerback. Their prima donna, star guy that they had in the headlines commonly last year. He's on the Washington Redskins now. But they have two rookie cornerbacks starting for the Carolina Panthers on that defense, and James Bradbury and Daryl Worley, two rookie cornerbacks that will see their first NFL action tomorrow night on NBC as the NFL kicks off the season between the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers as they go up against Trevor Siemian and the new Broncos offense under Gary Kubiak and Rick Dennison, the offensive coordinator. Defensively, not much has changed for the Denver Broncos. Outside, obviously, you lose Malik Jackson, Danny Trevathan, but you get guys like Todd Davis, Zaire Anderson, who's had a tremendous preseason. And at the tackle spot, you got Darius Kilgo. You got Antonio Vance. You lose Vance Walker to an ACL injury in practice at training camp. But you have a guy like Jared Crick at the defensive end position. You got Derek Wolfe, who's healthy as well. You got Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware on the edge, on the outside, rushing the quarterback with backups, and Shaquille Barrett and Shane Ray that will help them out. And you got your secondary is back, and it's intact. Chris Harris Jr., Aqib Talib, Darian Stewart, TJ Ward, rookie Justin Simmons, and rookie Will Parks will help out in the defensive backfield. Not much has changed for the Denver Broncos defensively. You still have Brandon Marshall as well, not the receiver, the linebacker, the Super Bowl champion. Carolina, however, differently. They're missing a couple guys. They're missing Josh Norman, obviously, who is now with Washington. They're missing Roman Harper, who signed with the Saints. You still have Trent Coleman. You still have Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis, and you still have Coney Ely, Charles Johnson, and a very good pass rush out there in Carolina with those guys. I tell you what, Luke Kuechly, they have the best inside linebacking core in the NFL, in my opinion. The Carolina Panthers doing it, and with that, that'll help make the defensive backs' jobs a lot more easier. So when you have guys like Thomas Davis Sr. and you have guys like Luke Kuechly, guys who can get to the quarterback, guys who can cover receivers, tight ends, and can get out and stop the run. It's going to be a tough matchup for the Denver Broncos offense. We haven't seen what this new Denver Broncos offense can truly look like right now. We've only seen limited action in preseason, but now we're in the regular season. Everything counts now. Everything really does count. So with that, we're going to see that matchup tomorrow night with Trevor Siemian against two rookie corners in James Bradbury and Daryl Worley for the Carolina Panthers. Defensively, it's going to be the same defense essentially for the Denver Broncos going up against the same offense essentially for the Carolina Panthers. So that should be an exciting matchup. Von Miller is going to look to get to Cam Newton once again. So we're going to see exactly how Cam Newton will respond to losing the Super Bowl in Denver. This is the first time that Cam Newton has ever played in the Mile High City, so that's a new element for him. But the momentum, the energy is going to be packed over there at Mile High Stadium in Denver. The stadium name has not yet been announced. The Denver Broncos do own the rights to it. They will announce it very shortly. But that's the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers analysis. We're going to break down that game next week on the Coach's Corner podcast. But until then, we will see you next week for a brand new edition of the Coach's Corner podcast. If you want to be on the podcast, go ahead and tweet me on Twitter at Cody Rourke NFL. Reach out to me. Go to CodyRourke18.com. Click the contact page. Or you want to listen to past episodes, go to CodyRourke18.com. Click on the right-hand corner, Coach's Corner podcast. Access the archive of every episode ever of the Coach's Corner podcast. Do it on iTunes and in iHeartRadio. Every single episode, past, present, and future, will be on iHeartRadio. It is there right now. So go to the iHeartRadio, the app, or go to iHeart.com and search for Coach's Corner Podcast. Add it as one of your favorite stations. And anytime there's a new episode, bam, it'll upload right into your phone, your computer, whatever mobile device that you may have. So this is Cody Rourke from the Coach's Corner Podcast talking to you guys live on iHeartRadio and CodyRourke18.com. We will see you next week for a brand new episode of the Coach's Corner Podcast. The Coach's Corner Podcast is brought to you by CodyRourke18.com, and the show is now on iHeartRadio. Download the iHeartRadio app and search for the Coach's Corner Podcast with Cody Rourke to listen to past, present, and future episodes of the show.